Liberals exposed in shocking interference scandal. David Eby loses control on camera. Canada's political arena is currently engulfed in turmoil as startling revelations about government interference and internal chaos have come to light, exposing serious cracks in the Liberal government led by Prime Minister Mark Carney. Since Carney's unexpected rise to power following the snap federal election in April 2025, Canadians have been watching closely as fresh controversies and mounting scandals threaten to erode the administration's credibility and authority. At the heart of this political storm lies the disturbing reality of foreign interference in Canada's democratic processes. Intelligence agencies have repeatedly warned about covert efforts, particularly from China, to influence Canadian elections and sway public opinion. Despite these warnings, the Carney government has been accused of downplaying the severity of such threats, fostering an environment where national security takes a backseat to political convenience. A staggering number of complaints, over 16,000, were reportedly dismissed by Elections Canada, which claimed insufficient evidence, even as intelligence units confirmed ongoing foreign information campaigns on platforms like WeChat, designed to bolster Carney's campaign and undermine key opposition figures. Conservative leaders have been quick to seize on these failures, with opposition leader Pierre Poilievre fiercely criticizing the Liberals for what he calls a blatant neglect of Canada's sovereignty. Poilievre argues that while Carney and his ministers trumpet their commitment to national security, they simultaneously allow serious breaches to go unpunished. Meanwhile, the media narrative remains fixated on trivial controversies, such as opposition politicians' security clearances, effectively distracting Canadians from deeper systemic issues like ministerial conflicts of interest and stalled corruption investigations that raise questions about accountability at the highest levels. Provincially, tensions are also high. British Columbia's Premier Danielle Smith has openly challenged the NDP government under David Eby, who recently appeared to lose composure on camera amidst growing criticism. Smith and other conservative voices warned that the presence of extremist groups, ranging from climate change deniers to anti-choice activists, in legislative discussions is destabilizing public trust and political discourse. They emphasize that stability, economic prosperity, and secure communities hinge on rejecting such divisive elements and embracing practical governance grounded in unity rather than factionalism. Energy policy remains a major battleground. Liberal legislation, including Bills C-69 and the controversial carbon tax, initially promoted as progressive environmental measures, have instead driven away billions in private investments critical to Canada's energy future. Allies like Japan and Germany have called on Canada to increase its liquid natural gas, LNG, exports, but since 2015, the majority of proposed LNG projects, worth over $600 billion, have been shelved. Only one site has persisted, mainly due to exemptions crafted by the Liberals. Conservatives argue passionately for repealing these laws to send a clear signal that Canada is open for business, energy independent, and ready to compete on the global stage. Prime Minister Carney himself faces scrutiny over troubling financial decisions. Under his leadership, the Canada Infrastructure Bank funneled $1 billion of taxpayer money into a Chinese state-owned enterprise, a move that critics say directly contradicts Carney's own warnings about China posing the greatest security threat to Canada. Adding fuel to the fire, Carney's former employer, Brookfield Asset Management, maintains billions in Chinese investments that many consider high risk. Questions remain unanswered regarding the Prime Minister's personal financial disclosures, raising concerns about transparency and potential conflicts of interest that undermine public confidence. Public skepticism has also grown around the government's electric vehicle mandate, initially embraced as part of the climate agenda, but now facing calls for reconsideration. Critics argue that many green investment programs, including FAN's Green Finance Action Networks, are more about political posturing and corporate profits than genuine environmental stewardship. Canadians are encouraged to closely examine their investments and demand sustainability efforts that are authentic rather than enforced through legislation. Beyond policy, a deeper cultural crisis looms. Many Canadians question what it truly means to be Canadian in an era where political elites appear to be redefining national identity in ways that many find alienating. The post-national identity rhetoric has been met with resistance by those who remember a Canada built on kindness, hard work, respect for the law, and community spirit. The tension between this nostalgic vision and the modern political agenda feeds a growing divide, with critics accusing the government of erasing traditions and stifling dissent by labeling opponents as extremists. Media relations have deteriorated alongside political trust. Critics accuse the Liberal government of managing the media narrative through selective outrage and censorship, promoting only state-approved versions of free speech. This approach, they argue, suppresses legitimate criticism and encourages dependency on government support programs rather than fostering self-reliance and civic engagement. The result is a polarized public discourse where meaningful debate is replaced by moral posturing and alienation. As the political drama intensifies, opposition figures like Pierre Poilievre and Danielle Smith emphasize that real power resides with the people. They advocate for unity grounded in freedom, competence, and accountability as essential to restoring Canada's democratic health. Their message urges Canadians to hold their leaders accountable, resist manipulation, and reclaim the core values that once made Canada a respected, cohesive nation. Mark Carney's government now faces a critical test. With scandals piling up and public confidence waning, the administration must demonstrate authentic leadership and transparency if it hopes to regain the trust of Canadians. Failure to address these deep-rooted challenges risks further political fragmentation and erosion of national unity at a time when the country can least afford it. Canada stands at a pivotal crossroads. The exposure of interference scandals and the government's questionable policies present an urgent call to action for citizens. It is an opportunity to strengthen democracy, reaffirm national sovereignty, and ensure future governance prioritizes all Canadians' well-being over partisan interests. The road ahead demands courage, clarity, and a commitment to principles that transcend political gamesmanship. In this charged atmosphere, Canadians are reminded that their voices matter more than ever. The path to a stronger, freer, and more prosperous Canada depends on an engaged and informed electorate willing to demand accountability and embrace a shared vision for the country's future, one rooted in respect, integrity, and unity.